By the way, one of the goals of this project was to highlight case studies of communities that had not been highlighted previously in the trade literature or in other publications. The board tried to get a balance of types of communities, be it rural, urban, or suburban, and a geographical distribution of communities. The board also wanted to showcase programs that had achieved 50% waste diversion already, but they did not set that as an absolute criteria for selecting the cities and counties. In fact, 2 of the community-wide case studies have not yet achieved 50%, but are working hard toward those goals. The board felt that it would be good to highlight some programs that had important messages and tools to share, even if they had not yet achieved the 50% diversion goal yet. We will now hear from our second panel of experts. This panel will be addressing community-wide diversion programs from Tehama and Sonoma counties and the city of Riverside and also the city of Thousand Oaks. Our first example will be Tehama County, a rural diversion model program. We have a video to show you of some of the exciting new programs in Tehama County.
Tehama County is our model regional community-wide case study. Tehama County has a population of 55,700 and reported a diversion rate of 43% in 1998. While this is an impressive diversion rate, until 1997, Tehama was way behind in its AB 939 goals. It was saddled with an illegal landfill, hadn't filed planning documents, nor instituted recycling activities.
The Tehama County and the incorporated cities within the county were at about a negative 19% diversion. That was in January of 1997, the time that I started. None of the plans and elements as required under Assembly Bill 939 had been submitted or approved.
Yet in 3 years, Tehama County acquired its own landfill, formed its own JPA, submitted planning documents, and created full-scale recycling and yard waste collection programs.
I've had a lot of support from the local elected officials, city council members and board members, and also the local task force. Without their support and confidence in staff's ability, some of these things would not have occurred. The California Integrated Waste Management Board Office of Local Assistance has been a tremendous help, both not only supplying information but also personal visits by their staff before city councils and board of supervisors and even civic groups has been a tremendous help to us. We've also utilized California Integrated Waste Management Board grants, Household Hazardous Waste Grant, Waste Tire Amnesty Grants, Used Oil Block Grant, Used Oil Opportunity Grant, and we also have a Beverage Container Grant from the Division of Recycling that is coming online. We hope to have these in place and facilities operating by the end of 2000.
By contracting with an experienced recycling company, Tehama County has been able to create a recycling program that fits the particular needs of its rural residents.
All 3 areas in Tehama County, all 3 jurisdictions, we all dump at the same site. Our relationship with the JPA is very good, and they've helped us with providing land for our MRF and composting facilities. And with these programs and with our recycling, we're looking to meet that AB 939 goal.
With plenty of open land and hidden canyons, illegal dumping becomes very commonplace for rural counties, including Tehama.
Well, I think all counties in California, at least, and probably across the nation, have a problem with illegal dumping. Most of the items you find in illegal dumping are the larger, bulky items, appliances, refrigerators, and things like that. So one thing you can do at the local level is have special events. You can also make sure there's a full range of services. You can try to beef up your county ordinances to fine and otherwise impact those committing illegal dumping. But I think also what would help is some manufacturers' responsibility. They've done it on tires, and they do it on oil. And it would be nice if the manufacturers were to continue their responsibility through the useful life of that appliance as an example. It could help reduce illegal dumping.
Tehama County uses its waste assessments as well as tapping into its local task force as resources to fund its educational programs.
Our educational programs here are also promotional. We do business waste assessments. We also utilize members of the local task force. We're working on curriculum for the schools with the California Integrated Waste Management Board, and we hope to get that into the schools by the end of this year.
Rural counties like Tehama face more difficulties than their industrial neighbors. They are far from recycling markets and have severe budgetary restraints. Market development incentives from state-level programs like Manufacturer's Responsibility could go a long way to helping them achieve their AB 939 goals.
Some of these things need to happen. It's very difficult for a local jurisdiction to have a significant impact on the waste stream that they receive. It has to be done at the state and federal level to help us do our jobs.
And you just saw our first panelist. He is Bob Kahn, Director of the Tehama County Red Bluff Landfill Management Agency. Bob will be telling us more about their recycling and waste reduction programs and highlighting how they were able to achieve such high diversion goals. Bob's experience of more than 23 years includes the management of all operations involving collections, recycling, materials recovery, composting, and landfill operations for a medium-sized city in rural Northern California and a regional joint powers agency consisting of 3 incorporated cities and 1 county. As director of this agency, Bob administers contracts, landfill operations, transfer stations, and collection programs. That's quite a lot of work there, Bob. Welcome.
Thank you, Mary, and good morning. I have about 4 areas that I would like to cover this morning, beginning with rural regional solid waste. Rural jurisdictions have had a very tough time in implementing the planning requirements and the diversion goals of AB 939. I think being long distances from markets, sparsely populated, and having fewer resources of funding and personnel are part of the problem. Of course, all cities and counties have similar problems, but I believe rural jurisdictions have the toughest road. In order to overcome some of these difficulties, I can suggest a few key items that have worked for Tehama County and the cities of Red Bluff, Corning, and Tehama. The formation of a regional joint powers agency to address solid waste issues was done in 1989, and I think was the first step. The formation of the regional agency separated solid waste from other activities such as public works or general services, etc. This allowed the JPA board to concentrate solely on solid waste issues at their agency meetings. The pooling of resources and efforts through the regional agency minimized costs and increased efficiency to staff and programs. The member agencies set aside territorial differences and concentrated on how to make the regional agency work. I feel very fortunate and grateful for the trust and support and confidence the Board of Supervisors and City Councils have given me, and I think without this support I would not be here today. Some suggestions I have for any director or manager are to first use all of the resources available to you, including jurisdiction staff, local task force, volunteers, professional organizations such as SWANA, Regional Council of Rural Counties, and the California Integrated Waste Management Board Office of Local Assistance staff. I think a director or manager must pursue all grant funding sources that are available, and don't be afraid to ask the funding agencies for help in preparing those grants. I think another important thing is to have continuous communication with the board and council members you work with, the community, the regulatory agencies. Keeping them informed of issues is critical to your survival. Another important thing for rural areas is not to overlook homeowner or property owner associations. These groups tend to be prevalent in rural areas and can be an excellent source for education and promotion programs. I've had good luck working with such groups, and they are often overlooked, and they can have a significant impact on programs. Some associations can have several thousand residents. They have their own water, sewer, and sometimes even mandatory garbage service. For the next item, I wanted to start with a quote from author Richard Carlson in his book, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff at Work. Chapter 9, it is titled Don't Sweat Bureaucracy. And this is where he says, you can spend your entire lifetime complaining about permits, licenses, procedures, and regulatory agencies, to name a few, or you can make peace with bureaucracy, do the best you can, suggest changes for things that are not right, and maximize your efficiency and move forward with what is important. Now, I have extensively utilized the resources and information available to me through the California Integrated Waste Management Board Office of Local Assistance. They have made personal appearances before the Board of Supervisors and City Councils, assisting me in educating them and informing them of the solid waste issues, and I think this was essential to our success. There is a lot of information available on their website, as was mentioned earlier. You can also access phone numbers of individuals and find other sources of information through their program. California Integrated Waste Management Board grants have made it possible for Tehama County and the jurisdictions to start programs that otherwise I think would have been delayed for several years. And I think one thing I try to keep in mind is that all of us, state, city, county, and regional agencies have the same basic goals related to solid waste, and that is to reduce the amount of waste going to our landfills, conserve our natural resources, and protect human health and the environment. The next couple of items I want to talk about relate to the Tehama County's recent contract for landfill operations and collections. The landfill agreement, the new agreement, was entered into in July of 1997, and the collection agreements and programs were implemented in July of 98 and November of 98, and they have helped the jurisdictions achieve a 43% diversion rate for 1998. I believe the most significant program is the variable can or pay-as-you-throw system and rates. Basically, residents have a full menu of services to choose from a 32-gallon can to a 62-gallon cart. Regardless of what size can they choose, curbside recycling, yard waste, and used oil and filter collection is still available. I think what is also unique in at least Northern California, what I consider Northern California, is the recyclables are collected. They include plastics 1 through 7, mixed waste paper, that's junk mail and magazines, and all metal items that will fit in the can or bin. The yard waste and recyclables is collected bi-weekly, and it's unlimited. The contractor didn't just go after the high-grade materials or place arbitrary limits, and this has helped us reduce landfill disposal tonnage from 49,000 tons in 1997 to 43,000 tons in 1998. Landfill diversion programs to yard wood waste, asphalt, and metals has also had a significant impact. In addition, we changed the base year from 1990 to 1998, and as a regional agency, using more accurate numbers, which helped a great deal. The last item I wanted to point out for our jurisdiction there is the dual or co-collection of residential materials. I think this is another unique aspect of the services that has helped enable our provider to offer the full menu of services. Garbage and trash is collected each week. Yard waste and recyclables are collected along with the garbage and trash on alternating weeks. The program is working very well, other than some confusion by residents over when to set out material and actually the concept of co-collection. I think sizing of the vehicles for adequate payloads and designing the routes is essential to, and proper advertising is essential to our success. To this day, I'm certain there are many areas, jurisdictions still use 2 or 3 garbage trucks to provide these services, and I encourage the decision makers to take a look at this type of system. The dual or co-collection system should reduce expenses and traffic impacts. Let's see. In closing, I want to share an opinion or comment by author Hans Tamamaji in his book, The Waste Crisis, published in 1989. He says that finding solutions to the garbage crisis is not simple. The problem is enormous in size, vital in terms of its impact on the environment, and complex in scope. It is hard to believe that an everyday item such as garbage can be a source of so much misinformation, emotional debate, and misdirected effort. I hope that the information you received today and the discussion of the various successful programs helps you meet your goals and concentrate your efforts on what will work. And I want to thank you.
And thank you, Bob, for sharing some great ideas on how other jurisdictions can follow Tehima's lead. Now, our next model program will be the City of Riverside as an urban diversion model program. We have a video to show you which highlights how Riverside's diversion programs are working successfully today and where programs are operated in large part as public operations.
This is the City of Riverside, our model urban community case study. Riverside is a city with a population of 250,000 and reported a diversion rate of 57% in 1998. The City of Riverside has a publicly owned refuse hauling system and was therefore able to immediately expand into inert recycling and green waste collection. Building on existing infrastructure is the key to their success.
One of the key aspects of the City of Riverside's programs is not to reinvent the wheel, but to look at our existing infrastructure and build upon existing programs. For example, all the cities in Riverside County got together and developed a tracking system where all of the haulers report where the material is coming from, which community, and so we're able to get annual reports, quarterly reports, and what type of material is going into the landfill. And so collectively, we developed a landfill ban of light goods and metal material. And the material is now recycled at existing refrigerator and appliance recycling factories instead of going directly to the landfill.
The City of Riverside realized the difference between government and the private sector when considering commercial programs.
The City of Riverside and the private sector have developed a partnership where the City of Riverside is going to remove at least 50% of the residential material from the landfill. And the private sector, who's driven by a different method, it was profit, and we're able to create an environment where the private business can actually save money by doing recycling versus sending the material to the landfill. So it's up to us, and I think we've accomplished that by creating legislation and programs to allow the private sector to save money in doing recycling, and in return, they will do that because business operates on profit.
Educating the public was made easier for the City of Riverside when it reached out to local schools and civic groups and its own utility company for help.
Once again, the City of Riverside tries to utilize existing organizations to promote educational programs. For example, we work with the Riverside Unified School District and also the Alvert Unified School District, both responsible for educational programs within the City of Riverside. And we also work with the Chamber of Commerce for the business community, and we try and utilize existing areas like our utility bill inserts, our local newspaper, through public service announcements and radio announcements and local cable channels to try and get the word out. Well, the City of Riverside started its curbside recycling program in 1997, which we think is kind of a unique program. The city was already reached the year 2000 mandate of recycling in the year 1995, but through a community effort spearheaded by a group of elementary school children to have curbside recycling come to neighborhoods throughout Riverside, the City Council was lobbied and convinced that it was really the right thing to do for the City of Riverside to create a curbside recycling program.
For the Kids for Saving Earth Club, we went, about 30 plus students went down to City Hall, sat at meetings, and talked to them about the status at CO Junior High.
I personally talked to Joy Diffenbaugh and a couple of the other council members to remind them that this was on the agenda and that they had to think about it so they'd be able to vote about it. Like, a lot of people recycled and stuff, but not enough people, so like curbside is not really hard. It's at their house, so they don't have to go down to like Stater Brothers and go all the way to the back for the recycling place. So they could just do it at their house.
It's a great civic lesson for the students to understand that you can work with City Hall to create sound environmental programs.
Knowing the development of markets to be crucial to its success, the City of Riverside developed an extensive procurement policy. It now paves many of its streets using rubberized asphalt, a recycled product made with shredded tires that actually lasts longer and wears better than regular asphalt. When both local and state governments use their purchasing power to buy recycled products, manufacturers of recycled products will flourish.
What's happening right now is we're stopping any additional waste from going to the landfill. But there is a lot of waste that's going to the landfill that can be recycled. And we're just in the midst of developing our new franchise agreements. And we're going to be very intensive in developing more commercial recycling programs and trying to assist in helping the market to grow.